One last thing that we need to just make really clear that we see and all understand for you and me is that to individually receive all of that and to make it personal, we really must believe and trust in Jesus. Right? We believe and trust God and Jesus for all of us, and that's it. And now, honestly, on that, you might have this morning been surprised at how little we talked about that, how little we talked about how we must receive this gospel by faith. And in some ways, it's true that we could have talked a lot more about that. But I wanted to make this idea of our faith something we talk about last, and I wanted to not make it a main point of this whole message, because to be honest, your and my faith, I want you to see this, actually isn't that central in this paragraph. It isn't. And to prove that, this is pretty fascinating. So we've now covered this whole passage, and in this paragraph, there's 206 words in the ESV. I counted this week. And there's a lot here, right, in this paragraph on the gospel. And often, let's be honest, when we tell the gospel to people, we sometimes so emphasize faith, faith, faith. We say the gospel is Jesus and believing in Jesus, as if it's like 50-50. And yet here in this passage, I want you to see, guess what? The word faith, or the idea of belief, only occurs once. In verse 8, for by grace you have been saved through faith. That's it. Out of 206 words, all about the gospel, faith shows up once. And now, I say that not to say that faith doesn't matter. Man, of course it really does. But church, the way that we approach the gospel should be a lot more like we see in God's word here from Paul. And how is that? Well, by really thinking and talking so much about the good news itself. Meaning first, by showing who we all really are on our own. And then second, by mainly putting God on display and his love and what he did in history in Jesus. And then perhaps by saying why God did what he did. Because we do that because then and only then, since all of that is true, since all that's so wonderful and too good to fathom and solves our deepest need, the point is then and only then, once we get all of that, only then does it make fit and make sense to, in our hearts and mind, really receive it. To trust God, to of course believe it. And again, that is how you and I should approach this gospel for ourselves and for when we tell it to others. Because technically, this is not centrally about your and my faith. I want you to hear it. Christianity is not mainly about your and my faith. Instead, it's about this God, this Jesus, this good news. And you and I are mainly to be amazed by it. And then only then do we, of course, receive it and trust God in it.